gave it to him and said, listen, good luck, but that's my last deal, and don't worry about the commission, but I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And I did. And 6 years later, I sold that company. It was called Evolution. And that was an exciting journey. So by the age of 26, I'd had my first exit with a telecommunications company. I always wanted to move into software and IT into IT. So
even before 30, you did your first exit, and that's a huge success.
Yeah, it was a little milestone for me, to be honest, Nevsah. I kind of said to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I could, get that
keep
milestone.
on exiting, on exiting,
and
build companies, exit and grow.
Yeah, I kind of felt, actually, do you know what? There's a repeatable thing here. And funnily enough, I went and worked with a really fantastic guy. I did some mergers and acquisition work with a vehicle that was backed by Investec Bank. So I got some really early experience in acquiring companies to try and buy and build a bigger group, knowing the value of the group is much higher than the individual parts. So that was a good experience for me. I sat on a fairly senior board for someone still in their 20s, and I did that for a short while. And then there was this noise coming over the hill. There was this word cloud, right? And we were like, in the IT world, cloud. And everyone was looking around going, what is cloud? What does it mean? All the underground stations in London had advertising about cloud, Waterloo to City Line, cloud. And everyone was waiting to understand what this thing was. And I thought it was a phenomenal marketing kind of campaign and only a big company can afford to do these things, I guess. But they presented this word before they sold the products and the services that sat behind cloud. So over time, I understood what cloud was going to mean to small businesses and large corporations in terms of, buying compute as a service model and being able to draw down applications from a kind of centralized compute environment. So I then got involved in wanting to disrupt the space that I knew really well, where I'd earned good money, was to go into the small, medium-sized business space and say, listen, with this new technology, with cloud, you can now rent IT, if you like, to keep it simple. So as a small business, you don't have to own servers, software, build a small data room, do all of these heavy CapEx things. You can actually connect to the internet, and you can download and have a stored gold image, a secure desktop. So I built a business called iFollow Office, which was the first kind of desktop as a service business that I was aware of at that time. And this was before AWS. So this was before Azure and before Microsoft 365 and all these things that are now standard.
Yeah, I even remember the days of the cloud in London and everywhere around the world.
Yeah, it was transformational from a technology point of view. One might argue it was going back in time to go forwards again with mainframe. But at the same time, it changed people's perception of how technology could be delivered to their business. And ultimately, I loved it because it helped small businesses grow, and IT wasn't a burden on their P&L. It was becoming more of an enabler for early stage companies, which is kind of the area I knew really well. So started that company, iFollow Office, with some brilliant people, and we had a great time. We had some tough times. Delivering applications like Bloomberg from a cloud environment is very hard to do. And when you're dealing with trading companies, they don't have much patience. So you have to deliver phenomenal service, and the technology has to work. So it was an interesting learning curve and an interesting business model. And that led me into building an infrastructure company, because I realized that we needed to make sure we delivered excellent service. Are you okay, Nevşah? Yeah, all good?
Yeah. I have a.
We've got a third member of the call.
Yeah, third member in the call, which is a furry little son named Max. No, he's barking now. Yeah.
Hello, Max.
Yeah, he's okay now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I then built an infrastructure company. Long story short, I picked up some big clients. One of a client that I've been talking to people about today, actually, which I found super fascinating. I picked up the WeWork account before they had an office in London. and I'd scaled the business around that phenomenon. And I was very close to the senior team there, and we delivered probably 20, 30 projects for them all over the world in a 3 to 4 year period. And that ultimately built that company to the point where it seemed the right time to exit, because we could get a good return for what the business was achieving. And again, I wanted to get into software. So ultimately then sold that business and went on to another part of my journey, which was working in effectively a billionaire's family office who acquired the company. And that was an amazing 2.5 years. Not all enjoyable, I'll be honest. It wasn't always kind of fun, but it was good in terms of helping me understand what's important to me as a business person, as a human being.
Yeah, it's stressful, and it's very stressful and challenging to work and lead a family office.
Yeah, it was tough, and because you've got, I think that the family office probably had maybe 100 entities that they were in the portfolio across very general. But yeah, so that was it. That was interesting, and then I needed a break for a bit, and then I started investing and looking after early stage companies, or trying to help early stage founders on their journeys, having done it a few times. And I felt that's where I personally could add value. I felt, I could be very sympathetic to the lifestyle of a founder, right? Having been one a few times, and I realized what's important. Top line fixes most of your problems. All these things that kind of don't get caught up in, stuff.
We'll dive a little bit in on those topics in a while.
Yeah. So just to kind of bring that to today, I'm now that aspect of my life became grey beard, which is advisory and commercial strategy for early stage companies. And now I also work in healthcare, and have done for 5 or 6 years, working in preventative health, digital health, and that's my role within Partisan Ventures, which is a focused, high touch preventative health venture company. And I love what we do there. We work in female health. We help areas like diabetes, healthy aging, and seeing our technology and some of our investments help patients and caregivers is really rewarding space to be in. So it feels like I've landed in a good place from a healthcare point of view, and also supporting early stage companies.
Yeah, lovely. We actually have similar backgrounds, especially being sports dropouts, professional sports dropouts. I don't remember us talking about it, but I was a professional swimmer, and then I was a professional volleyball player. And I'm a dropout as well, because there was a time where I had to decide whether to go on with the sports and, focus on sports, or focus on other things like, my education and also building companies. And I chose the second one. And I built my first company when I was 22. I was leading a team of 85 people when I was 25. So we have similar backgrounds. And I somehow, because I do have other friends that are coming from a professional sports background, and who are now in the finance world and startup world, and fund managers or serial entrepreneurs, or who are literally like you and I, who literally have professional sport backgrounds, and who are using the discipline, the focus, and the abilities they basically invested in, who use those investments and the investment to themselves as discipline and focus in their companies. So I keep on seeing more and more, or I keep on hearing more and more stories about professional sports people, sports dropouts, or professional people. Like I have and he's going to be in one of the podcasts as well. I have another friend, Lee, who was a professional Olympic swimmer, and who is also now managing funds, and he has great investment strategies, and he's still, from that professional background, he still has this disciplined lifestyle where he wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning and he does his exercise, and then he keeps on managing his day in that disciplined way. So my question is, because I've been seeing more and more examples of this, and I've been hearing more and more founders who are coming from a sports background being successful in the entrepreneurial journey, and also in leading funds, and in generally in business. I would like to learn about your ideas about your own story, because I strongly believe that we build certain behaviors and certain thinking habits when we are very young, when we are children and when we are young. And if you're coming from a professional sports background, you somehow know and learn the importance of routines and the importance of practice making everything perfect. Where I see in some founders, if they don't have that background, if they don't have that sports background, uh, they easily get bored with the routine, and they easily get discouraged with the practice. They easily get discouraged, for example, when things go wrong, things
Yeah.
don't go the way they want. But if you have that sports background, you're like, fall down every, like, you jump 2 times and then you fall 1 time, and then you do good and you do better, and then you do worse and you do bad. It's like, it's kind of like this ongoing exercise process where you understand that practice make everything perfect, and routines and doing the same thing over and over and over again is actually giving us the power and the strength to build something big. So
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, like, how does your past experience being a rugby player, how
Yeah.
did that affect your entrepreneurial journey? And also, how does it affect your everyday life right now? Do you see some behavioral patterns you use in, some behavioral patterns maybe you learned from your childhood, maybe you learned when you were a professional, yeah, when you were professionally in sports, participating in sports?
Mm. Ah, so much to talk about on on this,
Yeah.
as you know, right? I think, there's a great saying in sport, you're only as good as your last game, right? So, you know, and when you get to an elite level, or you get to a level where you're in a small percentage of people playing that sport, you know that the detail becomes everything. And
Just
also,
like the business world.
yeah, the detail becomes everything. Um, you can't sit on your laurels. You can't sit back. As soon as you've had success, you want to get the next bite of success. Winning is a habit. All these phrases are true. And ultimately, you need to drive that. I also think playing team sports and being part of a team gives you the ability to communicate, gives you the ability to lead from the front when it's needed, to play your role, to do your bit, to not let anyone in the team, not feel like they're part of something special and their efforts are rewarded. So there's so many things. I think also, personally, I like you probably did, and I think everyone that gets to a certain level feels like they can go all the way, right? They feel like
Mm,
that, and you have to be like that, otherwise you won't compete, right? You have to believe. Belief is everything. So when you walk in a
mm,
room in business, energy is really important. And if you can't present great energy, and you can't show people that, you get it, you're here, you want, you mean, in a positive way, you want to get stuff done, then people can feel that and they want to be part of that, I believe. And I
yeah.
think sport gives you that ability to understand the occasion, right? And understand how important small moments are. And how also that opportunities don't come along all the time. So you've got to take them when they
Mm,
arrive, whether that's trialing for, a representative team, or You've got to judge those moments that are going to be super impactful for you and your friends and your business and your family and everything around you. And I think
Yeah.
good sports people kind of can read the moment, and they understand the moment, and they turn up when it.
Yeah.
And I think, from a habits point of view, there's a great story that I was lucky enough to train with a decathlete called Daley Thompson when I was a young lad, and he was phenomenal. The phenomenal athlete. No surprises there, but he was in his 40s, and I was maybe 22 or something, and he was running quicker than me over 60 meters with a car tire hanging off him. It was just incredible guy. And he trained every Christmas Day, right? Because he knew, and his hardest training day every year was Christmas Day. So he knew when he was on that start line, every time he ran or threw, the guy next to him hadn't trained on Christmas Day. So psychologically, he had the advantage in his mind, right? So in business, you've got to have your list of things you want to get done, and then you got to go again and find some other. So you finish on a proactive. Don't just do enough. Do that bit more, because if you're doing that bit more, then you'll move forward, and that's where progress comes from. That's where everything comes, right? And coming back to being a business owner or a founder, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. It's a thing that you do, and you think about constantly, and it's the word job gives me shivers, right? Because it kind of I don't think you can approach it like that. And I found that in terms of my very early on in my life, I couldn't just turn on at 9 and turn off at 5. I'm like, there's so much to get, things to do. There's so many people. So, and I think, so not to go off on another, but sport is for me is really important. I also don't want to fail in anything else I do in my life, because I feel that I could have gone further with my sport. So when I came out of sport, I kind of was a bit young. I couldn't see that there was more potential and more growth. I felt like at 21, 22, if I hadn't become, a guaranteed international or whatever, then, no one gets me, I'm out of here, kind of thing. Whereas actually, so I realized I should have been more disciplined at that point in my career. So I'm not prepared to make that same mistake again. Right. So in business, I'm the Johnny Wilkinson. I'll stay after training and do another hour and a half of practice. Right. Or because that's the difference. And some sports people and they're lucky enough to understand that early in their sports career. And they're the ones that will have longevity at the high level, because they've worked that out very early. Some of us are talented, but we don't have that discipline, right? We get there through, and then you pop your head up into this 0.5% of everyone, and then you find out that everyone's talented and everyone's really good, and
everyone has talent, but it gets better with practice.
Correct.
It's like talent is actually all about doing the same thing. Talent, I think, is something that builds up. It builds by doing the same thing, over and over again. And what you said about sports, I think in business we should start saying you're as good as your last day.
Yeah.
In business,
correct.
You're as good as your last day. It's like you're as good as what you achieved yesterday, but today is a new day, and there is something more to achieve. And I've been also, and most of our listeners are founders, and some of them investors, some angel investors, some VCs, some LPs, friends and family, and some of my students as well. And I have been focusing on the difference between founders who are entrepreneurs with this entrepreneurial spirit, with their innate wisdom and with their natural selves. I think being a founder, especially being a serial entrepreneur, being a founder, is kind of like this attitude where you are someone here to challenge the world and challenge yourself, That's why you become a founder and you become an entrepreneur, and you just can't help it. So if it's kind of like when I ask a founder, when I ask an entrepreneur a question like, why are you doing what you're doing, or why are you an entrepreneur or a founder? If they can answer it, they can give a clear answer. I don't think they are doing that with their natural innate wisdom. When they're like, because I can't help it, it's like, this is me.
Mm.
I just can't stop. Like you said, I just can't stop. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, in the evening, I'm still working. At 11 o'clock, 11 p.m., I can do meetings. And if building meaningful business, it doesn't have to be even meaningful for the world, meaningful for yourself. If building business and building businesses and solving problems and disrupting the world is your thing, you are a natural born entrepreneur because you just can't help it. It's like, I mean, when I think about myself and I see that in you, I see that in some other founders and entrepreneurs, also
Mm.
with sports backgrounds, because I think we got so used to challenging ourselves. When we're done with something, we're like, okay, what's the next thing? And I remember a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and she was working for a very big law firm over here in London. When I moved here in London, and when I built my first company and then second company and then startup, she called me one day because she was following me on LinkedIn and following my process. She called me. She knows me from Turkey back then, like 20 years back then. She knows me from probably the first years of my career, and she was like, I truly think, I sincerely think you're mad. Like, why the hell would you want to build a startup from scratch where you're at an age where you already built your business, you already built, you know, your wealth, and you already have, some, like it's kind of, you can literally just kick back, and you came to that like 40 years, 42 years, you can literally kick back, not do anything, live the best life. I
Yeah.
sincerely think you're just mad. You're just this mad lady. Why are you starting the whole process all over again? Like, are you
Yeah.
mad? And I'm like, because I can't help it. Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw something that's missing, and I just can't help it. And it's like, the story. I invested in my own startup myself as
Yeah.
an investor. I started my startup. I was the first investor in the company, and the reason was because I just saw something was missing in the industry, something was missing, and I knew there were people ready to, you know
Yeah.
purchase that product and ready to, buy the product. It's just a breathwork app, but I knew there was a market and there were people eager to use it. So I was like, why not? And
Yeah.
that's why I think, um, as a founder, if you're only interested about the money, or just about, if you're about building one company and exiting that company and then not doing anything ever again, I don't think that's the real entrepreneurial spirit. And many people, many founders, this is kind of like my message to the new founders, miss that nuance.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, that's the main reason why some founders succeed and some don't. And you probably have read more than myself about founders building a company, exiting, and then no matter how much money they earn, it can be even like I have a friend who exited her company with getting $400 million, and then she was like, okay, what's next? What are we building now?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Because
I
she's a
don't. Yeah.
serial entrepreneur, and that's the reason why she was able to exit her company for $400 million, because she's interested in the journey. She's just thrilled
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
journey, and she loves building businesses, and she's going to keep on building businesses.
Yeah. Good. I think it's quite interesting because I think about this quite often, and I remember that it wasn't. I didn't see money as money, right? I saw money as a kind of uh, a currency that told me how the business was performing, whether I was meeting the opportunity, whether we were having a good month, whether I looked at the numbers but didn't see like material things. I
Yeah.
didn't see any, I just saw it as kind of a score book, right? Or as it just told me that we were performing, and I was targeting around those numbers. It never felt, I never chased money. I chased, success. I chased it. I chased the opportunity to make everything work and for everyone to play their part in creating something sustainable and successful. So it wasn't, if I wanted to be in money, I'd be, I don't know, a fine
Yeah,
art.
what you're actually saying from a philosophical, point of
Yeah,
view is, you did not see money as the meaning, but you
no,
saw it as for what it is. Because when money is the meaning, and money can't be the meaning, it's not the meaning, it's just some tool, something we use to get to experience our meaning. Because as humans, we are meaning searching biological organism. So we are after our meaning, and that's kind of like a very distorted perception when people make it the meaning, the goal of their lives, because it can't be a goal, but it can be part of the goal. It can be used for you to reach your goal, and you were able to actually basically see money for what it was.
I also don't think that, I don't think if you're purely looking at money, and this is my personal opinion, by the way. So, there's a lot of great business people that are very money focused and they make it work, right? But I think to build equity value, right? To build true equity value of something that is going to be of interest to a potential buyer in the future, it's not, they don't just look at, the cash outputs of a company. They want to, they want to see it's got longevity. They want to see that it's got diversification. They want to see that it's not going to fall over at the whim of a, change in legislation, or,
Mhm,
it's not
mhm.
chasing a moment in time. It's building something meaningful, building those building blocks that actually, if I'm not there, that business still grows. It's still really, because you build something that's that's the thing that I think founders and, that's the focus, I think, that's really important, and I like to try and talk about that, because that's ultimately going to give you an exit point, because someone's going to look at that and go,
Right,
oh, I'm not
right,
buying you. I'm not buying a single product that's got, that's a moment in time because of a thing, right? It's
right.
actually, it's got longevity. It can diversify. It's got, right. And I just think, and that for me is also really important. And that's just my instinct. So when I'm looking at either investment or, I always kind of, even though they might be creating loads of cash, I'm just like, yeah, but it's just that thing, right? It's just kind of,
Yeah,
it's a moment. It's a buy and sell thing. It's a,
yeah,
and
yeah,
which might not be right, by the way. I might be,
yeah,
I might be always going the hard way, and doing
yeah,
everything the long way and everything the hard way. And,
yeah,
maybe maybe I'd be also
yeah,
being on a sun lounger, but it's
yeah.
kind of the way I am. I just get excited about building blocks and building and creating really cool, sustainable kind of businesses. I think it's kind
Yeah.
of, it's exciting.
I don't remember us talking about it, but I just finished the LP Institute cohort 3,
Yeah.
and in LP Institute is also part of the Founder Institute and the VC Institute, and we had an amazing experience. I met with a lot of VCs, especially in the Bay Area, and I've been doing meetings like between 6 to 7 meetings per week, and we have been discussing on their, about we've been discussing their investment strategies, their approach to the market, and there are so many different approaches and there are so many different strategies. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I didn't know there was this much different strategy over, like, a VC only targeting founders, even before they go to Y Combinator, or the moment they go into Y Combinator. And then there's another VC targeting founders who are doing great at Y Combinator, and then there are founders who are only focused on marketing, and so it's on VCs only focused on marketing and sales. And it's very interesting because VCs are actually like yourself, fund managers actually are most of them from an entrepreneurial background. They are usually successful founders with a couple of exits, and they know the process. Or, like, I'm part of a VC which is called Swizzle VC, and Jessica founded the VC, and she was the marketing firm of big big startups like Peloton and I think Airbnb. So they were the marketing company behind those
Yeah.
big brands who did IPOs, and she is now using her expertise to help woman-led businesses, consumer businesses, again, health and wellness, mainly focused on health and wellness, but
Mm.
other areas as well, and using her expertise to help those founders. Like I am in NevCap also helping founders using my expertise and my team's expertise. We're like a team of people with a couple of founders, with a couple of exits, and with our expertise on marketing and sales and all that. So I would love to learn your strategy as the managing partner of Greybeard and
Mm.
Partisan Ventures. Like, what's your investment strategy and what's your approach to helping and supporting founders? Because you're here to and we did chat about this for hours with you. You're
Yeah.
here mainly here to support the founders, especially meaningful businesses. I know
Mm.
health is really important for you, health and wellness in that area. So what's your investment strategy personally, and also with Greybeard and Partisan Ventures? If we would like to know a little bit about your team, your strategy, what are you looking for in
Yeah.
founders, and basically how do you? I mean, that's kind of like, for me, it's getting more and more important for me because we also have founders and companies uh, applying to our accelerator every week, and we have a team of people very advanced, a data analyst, and then a group of people who are coming from a fundraising background. We're doing all that search, and I'm also doing some interviews, and we're asking them to record a video, send to us so that we can see the founder. And I'm also assessing them as a behavioral scientist. But I'm getting more and more curious and more
Yeah.
interested in, like, how do other managing partners and how do other people,
Yeah.
how do you choose, basically, like, how do you make the decision and how do you choose, what do you look for?
Great question. And I often think about this, and we have a sort of more formal criteria, but equally there are some informal aspects to it, which I think are just as important. So yeah, as I think it's Greybeard and Partisan, because I'm effectively kind of leading both of those sort of venture businesses. We look at across our team. We like, because I said we're like operators as a background, right? We're entrepreneurs as background. We're kind of, we want to add value at some of those early stages, right? So, we're not afraid of, companies that may not be in revenue yet, but they've got traction of some description, right? And they've got, a product that we believe is definitely going to meet an unmet need that's in the marketplace, right? Both healthcare or, frankly, any industry, there needs to be that kind of principle. On a human level, having invested a few times, it's really important that the founder, is aligned. And we talked about this, Nevsah, in terms of values, right? Really important. And since we've been talking, it's becomes really important, even more important to me. And you opened my eyes to some of my personal values that make me happy when they're aligned and they're, centered to what I'm doing. And so the founders themselves, and this is they need to listen and understand how we can bring value to their business, and agree that we can bring value, not just money, right? It's really important that they're on board with, as a team, some of the aspects that we bring, having built companies for 25, 30 years. And some of the small things we do can be really impactful, whether that's, go to market, route to market strategies, whether it's some of the creative side, whether it's just, commercial, whether it's, assisting with, partnerships, strategic tie-ups, all the things that we want to bring to the table. We like to feel that before we invest in a company or before we partner into a business, we want to, as a team, have a really clear idea on how we're going to help. And we also want the other side of the table to understand our value, because if the values aren't aligned, someone's going to feel like it's not an even deal, right? So it's kind of, we need that. So we're quite unusual as an early stage investor in the sense that we're very high touch at this time. Hence why we won't do lots and lots of transactions, but the ones we do, we'll be very much, rolling our sleeves up and supporting those founders in lots of ways. We like digital, we like scalable, right? It's really important that we can see scale in those businesses, and they're not fixing a problem in a very small niche that's kind of only a problem, when you work with academics and you work with people in the kind of medical world, sometimes the problem that there isn't actually a bigger problem than in their clinic or in their room or even in their bubble that they're in, right? So and we're quite lucky. We've got some very, we've got a lot of experts.
Problem being scalable, as much as the company being scalable, I think the problem being scalable is also important. I mean, the problem being, being a problem, actually targeting a bigger market,
Yeah, and does that problem translate, as you say, across multiple markets? Is it an economic issue within a country or a city or a town or whatever, or is it? I also think, certainly in the healthcare space, try and launch really close to where the customer is in terms of technology, right? Anything that involves behavioral change, i.e., you now need to use this widget to do this thing. We try and avoid that, because there's this kind of, even though the tech is really clever, it's changing how people behave.
It's hard. It's
correct, right? People are lazy. People want to, but if it's already in your phone and it can be used already, then do you know what? You're going to where the customer is rather than asking them to come to you. So there's, for me, that's a really important factor. The outcomes are really important, certainly in the health space, and really understanding the customer profile and having people like not believing that the problem is a problem because you think it is, hearing it back from the community, right? The communities you're looking to work with and sell your products into, you need to hear it from them. Don't think that you, just because you think you understand, you need to have, in the healthcare world, survey studies, trials, things that kind of show that there's a need. So they're important to us. Investment levels, we're not, we're sort of pre-seed seed, really, to be honest. So we're not writing huge checks, but we like to get involved, because the valuations are a little bit more sensible at that stage, and you'll pick up, dare I say it, slightly more meaningful percentages, because so the value we bring and the percentage we have kind of correlates well at our end versus later on, and you're getting sort of single digit stuff or less, you're putting 2 days a week into founders, and you're like, wow, I'm doing this for, the model just goes, even though you love it, you're like, wow, I only own this much and I'm putting in all this time. So there's that kind of there's a little bit of a hang on a minute, what am I doing moment, where you kind of, and don't get me wrong, founders are brilliant people, right? Founders are like, they'll take, right? They're smart. They'll be like, tell me, and they're like sponges. They need, the reason they're doing it is because they've got get up and go, and they want to make.
And I think that's the thrill of it. I mean, it's like we have a group of people who started the NavCap Accelerator now, and I am meeting with them personally every week for around half an hour, 40 minutes, and just listening to where they're stuck and what's the bottleneck and where, how we can help them. And it's just so amazing, because in just one meeting, just in half an hour meeting, you literally discuss 30 different problems, and you can just, as a mentor, you can
Yeah.
just lead them into like, why don't you do this and this and this and this, and they're like, yeah, and this, and then they grab and make a list and okay, come back with this. That's the thrill of it. I mean, it's kind of like, because where I am right now, and I think that's why I'm enjoying this whole NevCap and the accelerator process and being an LP, and just with this idea of, okay, how can I help founders and how can I help more founders? It's so much fun to just bring all your expertise and all that experience, because it's pain and sweat and all that,
Mm.
all that journey of being a founder for 25 years. And now I'm like, I'm so glad I have experienced all of those, because now it's like with a young founder, 25 years old, 30 years old, I just find solutions to their problems less than 2 seconds, and they're like, "Yeah, why don't we do this?" And what, and just everything is, it's just a thrill. It's just, yeah, it's so amazing when I think us as serial entrepreneurs build this wisdom and we have a chance to share it. That's so amazing.
Mm.
And you have founders, intelligent people like geniuses listening to you and grabbing those ideas. And yeah, I'm going to come back to you with this and this and this next week. And then when you see everything moving and then revenues increasing, it's just amazing. I kind of like feel like I'm
Mm.
orchestrating a bigger, you know, thing.
Yeah.
It's like, the cello and the, piano and this and that, and they're all bam, bam, bam. It's so much fun. I think I'm going.
It's
I'm moving towards being a VC now. Yeah, with what's been happening now, it's like people eager
Yeah.
to, yeah,
It's
invest.
fascinating actually, because I kind of think I try and fast forward a little bit sometimes and think, actually, where is this journey going? Like, will I end up being, if I find a biggie that kind of goes really well and 100 times or whatever, and will I end up moving through the gears and being like a Series A and going into, and I think no, because that's where the finance people hang out, right? That's where the transactional guys play. That's where it's like, it's a game of like debt, equity, value,
Yeah,
multiple.
finance. Yeah,
It moves into the world of finance, right? And going back to where I started in life, I wasn't smart enough to do that. So I now know, I understand all the concepts, but I'm not that guy who's going to kind of, saying that, I quite like some of these buy and build concepts and like how you can scale up, and I'm thinking, oh, that's clever, but at the same time, right now I'm like, will I always want to get into the battle with founders and help them and enjoy that? Yeah, I think I will, because that's where I'm
that's where the
in.
fun is. That, yeah,
Yeah,
why we enjoy it is because we are serial entrepreneurs. We just love helping multiple companies grow.
but it can be
Mm.
frustrating, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like yes and no. I'm on my side. Like what I'm experiencing is, I think because I am a teacher and I've been teaching for over 25 years as well. I kind of like the thing I do the best is to inspire people. So
Mm.
I'm best at inspiring people, and maybe that's also like, I can understand the values of a founder, like personal story and personal values, and speak their language even in the first meetings we do, and they're like, yeah, I can do this and I can do this, and then they literally do it and come back. And I think it's like, for me, I know that we are working with them. I'm also supporting them, building their company, growing their company, increasing their revenue. Even like some of them, I will be helping them to move to their companies to US and maybe here in UK. So it's like, you know from a company from Dubai or a company from Istanbul, we might move them into UK or to US. I think what I enjoy the most, even though I know the revenues growing and all that numbers, I enjoy the seeing the company grow and the founder growing and the founder becoming someone. It's like I love seeing the process of the founder. like him or her, with the knowledge and with what they're doing in their entrepreneurial journey, who they become is just so interesting and it's just so valuable. I
Mm.
love that process. Like the first year, you're a different individual. The second year, you're someone else. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like building that and understanding your business and making it better
Mm.
and better until you perfect your, I don't know, pitch and perfect your products and your marketing strategy. I think the journey of it is the thrill. I just love it. And in the end, of course, when they, you know, keep on growing and when they keep on um, getting inspired, I think they are able to grow their companies as well.
Yeah, I think this is where I've learned quite a bit from you, is your early principles of working with mission, people that are mission led, i.e., they feel that they've, they're working from inside out rather than outside in, right? They've got this absolute focus on meeting this mission. And personally, I think if you're working with people that are mission led, I think frustration, they will want to listen, right? Because anything they can do to meet that opportunity that they're looking to go for, they will want to take that on board, and they will try, and they will
Yeah.
listen, and they'll be flexible, like,
And they won't be like, I'm too busy this week
yeah,
and I can't do this. No, just do it. Do it at 10 p.m. in the evening. Finish this. Come back to me.
yeah, they'll do that because it's in them, right? They're mission driven, so they're going to be those types of people. And I think that's a really smart way, that part of your how you operate in terms of investment and your accelerators and NevCap, etc. I think that's so smart, because you've taken one thing off the table that could be a problem, which is the
Yeah.
relationship, and the fact that you've got this kind of really strong kind of energy between the founders and yourself, in terms of them buying into the fact that you understand they're mission driven, they are mission driven, you're helping them on that mission. This is why we're in the room, this is why we're talking. There's no other
And
bits and
we just love it. We just love the personal journey of the founder. Yeah, Simon, thank you so much. We were supposed to end it in half an hour, but again, it's now 50 minutes. Yeah, it goes on. Thank you so much. It's always really nice speaking with you. You're also, I think, inspiration in in basically how you manage yourself and your life, and what you have achieved. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person soon. So, any last messages for our founders and anyone who's listening, who is maybe thinking of becoming a founder, or who is a founder and who would like to, grow their companies? Any message and any last insights for them?
It's tough, but always keep trading, because tomorrow's a new day, and tomorrow you can meet a wonderful person like yourself, or you can meet your biggest client, or every day's a new day. Keep trading, keep going, because it will happen.
Yeah.
And you stay positive. Yeah, that's my view. And always remember, top line can fix most problems in small businesses. If you grow the top line, it will, so keep
Yeah.
selling, keep being positive. Tomorrow's a new day. Hang in
Yeah,
there.
and what I learned from this podcast is a new word, a new sentence I learned, and I think we came up with that sentence yesterday. Your best day was yesterday. What was the word?
You're
Your
only as good as your
your
last game.
Yeah, you're only good as your last day. You're only good as your last day.
Yes.
So yeah, you're only
Yeah.
good as your last day. Today is a new day. Be better.
Yeah. But enjoy the highs, right? Have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
You
Have
know,
fun.
have
Yeah.
fun.
Woohoo. Yeah.
And this was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, same here. And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.